My name is Scott Marlowe. I work for the Rural Advancement Foundation International, USA, based in Pittsburgh, North Carolina. This is our series of videos about why we spend lots of money on commodities and much less money on fruits and vegetables. This is our third video, and last time we talked about the specific crops. This time we're going to talk about the environment in which those crops are grown. What is it about how they're grown and where and what those situations are. So now let's talk about the environment or the way in which these products are grown, fruits and vegetables versus commodities. According to the 2007 Census of Agriculture, there's about 4 million acres of fruits and vegetables grown for sale in the United States. It's a lot of land. It's about the size of Connecticut. Commodities, on the other hand, there's about 141 million acres grown. That's much more. That's the size of Texas. What that means is that the scale is just orders of magnitude different. If you had just about 2.5% of commodity acres that shifted over into fruit and vegetable production, you'd more than double production and markets would crash. When you double production, it doesn't mean that there's just that much more. It also means that the prices go through the floor. There's just orders of magnitude difference in the scale of the production. But there's something else to it as well, which is that if I'm a farmer who's growing 600 or 800 acres, or 1,000 acres, or 2,000 acres, the list of crops that I can grow at that scale and sell and make any money at is very small. And because of sort of the nature of farm finances and the way that this is built up, I pretty much have to grow it all out every year. So what that means is that commodities markets are very inelastic. And elasticity is an economics term which just means how quickly the supply reacts to changes in price. So, the whole supply and demand thing, if price goes up, then supply gets increased to match. And if price goes down, supply drops production drops as well, and it eventually balances out. Well, fruits and commodities, grain commodities, are very inelastic. What that means is that while the production may shift back and forth, it may be a little more corn this year, a little more beans next year, a little more cotton that year, the overall acreage for commodity production is going to stay pretty much the same. And it may shift back and forth just a little bit, but it's not going to shift that much. Part of that inelasticity is also because each farmer has an extraordinarily small segment of the market. So that if prices go down, if I was to say, well, prices are down, so I'm going to not produce, basically I would have no effect on the market and I'd go broke. In an odd sort of way, actually, when prices go down, the only way for a farmer to cope with that is to try to produce more. It's a bad treadmill that happens. And that we try to get at with some of the programs, but basically what happens is, if the prices go down, my margin goes down. The only way that I have to address that is by taking my fixed costs spreading my fixed costs over more units. So I need to produce more. So in a weird way, reductions in price, instead of reducing production, increase production. So I have to do that in order to keep myself in business. The problem is that when all the farmers do it at the same time, it increases the supply and the price goes down further. The other issue here is that, a lot of the folks that I know who sell at the farmer's market, part of their resilience and part of the health of their farm and their enterprise is the fact that they're selling much of the year. If we have a hurricane in September, they've already made most of their money for the year. If I'm growing cotton and corn, when we get to September, I haven't gotten paid yet. I was in a restaurant with a farmer one day, and he was joking with the waitress, and she was joking about getting paid and payday, and he said, I got one payday a year, and he's pretty much right. The problem is that all of the farmers are going to go after that payday at the same time. Everyone's harvesting corn, everyone's harvesting beans, everyone's harvesting peanuts at the same time. So what that means is that they're going to have to sell, and they do have to sell when they harvest it. They're going to sell at the time of year which has the greatest supply, and as we all know from Economics 101, the greatest supply means the lowest price. So as we talk about the structure of commodities programs, a significant number of the commodities programs were created specifically to allow the farmer to hold on to his crop so he doesn't have to sell it in that window, and hold on to it further into the year where he could save it and get a better price at a different time when the supply was not so high.